In a world without moral agents, can immoral actions exist? Some argue that morality is indexed to a deity. This suggests actions are moral, immoral, or morally neutral based on their alignment with divine rules or interests. In this view, morality exists independently of human perception, grounded in an omnipotent being's framework of right and wrong. But setting that aside, another view suggests that morality only exists because moral agents exist. Moral truths are real, but they're indexed to beings capable of moral reasoning, agents who can understand, deliberate, and act with intention. Morality, then, is coherent and corresponds only in relation to those agents and the truths they can access. Even among moral agents, responsibility depends on epistemic access. If someone lacks the ability to understand the consequences of their actions, we hesitate to call them morally responsible. This parallels how non-moral agents like animals aren't held to moral standards. They act according to their nature, not according to moral reasoning. Take a bear, for example. If it ravages and eats a bunny, we might say the action is bad, especially if the bear could have eaten berries or something less sentient. The bunny experiences exceptional harm. But just because the outcome is bad doesn't mean the action was immoral. Without a moral agent, there is no intent, no deliberation, no moral violation, just harm. Still, it might be bad in another sense, that something capable of persistence, distribution, and the potential for moral agency has been extinguished. This points to a broader idea that some events may be morally good or bad, depending on whether they approximate or eliminate the conditions for moral agency. For instance, if Earth had been struck by a massive meteor a billion years ago, wiping out the possibility of life before moral agents ever evolved, we might call that a morally bad event. Not because anyone violated a rule, but because it erased the potential for the development of moral agents. This distinction points toward a kind of relaxed moral realism. It's an empiricist perspective. Moral truths exist, but they aren't always intuitive or emotionally accessible. We discover them through experience, reflection, and increased epistemic access. These truths are true in the sense that they bring us closer to an absolute moral reality, even if that reality is complex and partially obscured. Some moral truths remain out of reach. Variables, levels of foreseeability, and systemic complexity can make certain moral calculations inaccessible. This limitation suggests we may need artificial assistance, tools that help us compute moral outcomes or navigate ethical dilemmas beyond our natural capacity. This also speaks to the possibility that we haven't yet reached the natural limits of our evolutionary moral capabilities. We may be operating far below our biological potential for moral clarity. If we were 10 times smarter, if we could compartmentalize larger matrices of information, intuitively model and predict events more quickly, we might become purer moral agents. While evolutionary development is slow, artificial intelligence may accelerate moral reasoning. Genetic manipulation could also radically enhance our cognitive and ethical capacities. Still, some moral insights come early. Our evolutionary wiring, empathy, fairness, harm aversion gives us a foundation. But the harder questions, the ones involving competing rights or layered consequences, require deeper deliberation and discovery. In short, bad things can happen without immorality. Harm can exist without blame. And morality itself is a layered architecture built on agency, access, and the capacity to choose otherwise.